Let's talk about this industry we so love.
Oh yeah, some Hollywood talk.
Hollywood Talk, the biz. How was your week?
It's been good. It's been good. Nice Thanksgiving week. Of course, it was the first week since our jump off with our first guest.
That's right. Great first guess.
Yes,
The man
Jimmy Van
himself.
Patten.
Yeah.
We've been getting like so many compliments, by the way, on his interview and everything. He was elated with us too, by the way. He just thought
You had a
it
good
was
time.
fun. Oh yeah, and he just thought like our podcast is amazing and like the angle's awesome and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, what was your takeaway from it?
I had a great time. I thought he had a great time too. It's good to hear that. And yeah, dude, I think we set ourselves up to scale this thing like crazy, you know. I think people are interested in where people come from because a lot of people have this dream and it seems so unattainable because they only see people as they are now. So like when they see
Got
Kevin
it.
Hart, they're like, "Oh, it's Kevin Hart now, the billionaire who has all
Yeah.
these deals with Shark Tank and shit." They don't see the Kevin Hart that was struggling in Philly, trying just like sucking, every night at comedy
Yeah.
clubs. But
Yeah.
everyone comes from that place. And that's like the connection people need to make because then they'll start to realize that they can attain this dream too.
I think the interesting thing too, I like to hear about more and more is that there's so many like character actors who kind of make it big one day because they're like on some commercially successful show, like Emily in Paris or something. And people look back at their like, body of work and they're like, oh, well, they've worked for years and little stuff and they bounced around sitcoms and dramatic stuff and all these things. And they're like, must have been so cool being like a character actor and always working and stuff. But you talk to a lot of those people and they're like, no, it wasn't that chill. Like the whole time I wanted to kind of get a vehicle for myself and really get some real screen time and get something. I wanted to write my own show and everything, but I couldn't get more than just these little parts and everything. It's just everyone kind of wants what they don't have. So it's fun to hear
Yeah,
the perspectives.
totally, bro. And the grass is always greener. Like you can look at someone and see their highlight reel and be like, oh shit, that's so dope. Like what they've got going on,
Yeah.
whatever. But when you start to peel back those layers and be like, oh shit, there's a lot in common with the stuff I've got going on behind the scenes with what they're doing.
I think it'll be highly inspirational to a lot of people when we kind of scale or kind of take a look back with people from the other side.
Yeah.
With that said, there is some things that came out this week. Thing one, have decided again that we are gonna put the my pilot on YouTube. So yeah.
How do you come to that decision? Next week it's gonna be, you know what, bro? We gotta pull
I
it.
know. I'm like you flip flopping with like are you a writer or
Yeah. I do the
like
same
never
shit.
or shorts and non-shorts.
Yeah.
It's the classic thing, but it's kind of because no, it really was. I met with our friends Sophia and Laura, and we were talking with one of their friends who's like super big in the industry and stuff. And I kind of asked them, like, hey, do you think it's worth doing on YouTube? And they're like, 100%, 100%. Like, there's no reason to be like worried about, any like bad blood on the show because they're like, whatever. But they're like, no, you gotta put it out there. And I spoke again to a couple other people and people of like all sides of the spectrum. I really like opening up to the field, and the resounding takeaway was like, dude, you gotta make the most of what you got.
I'll add to it, bro. Like when you first pitched it to me and you're like, should we not? I was like, yeah, 100%.
100%. Yeah. No,
I
I
don't
knew.
think that there's really any, like, I get how you could reason there could be some kind of downside, but at the end of the day, the pros way outweigh the cons. And I'm excited to see what happens for you too. And like what happens to the video, because the potential of that thing is crazy.
Thank you, man. I already have and I sent my dad the strategy with it, and it's just super simple. Like step one, Caitlin and I do like a video on Instagram, just like of her being like, Shardoki, so what are we gonna do? What is my character in the show? And then I come on with a wig and a glass of Chardonnay. Caitlin, I mean, your character, your fun-loving self. We go through all things like sipping shard on the golf course, sipping and putting. You're regular at that, and like,
bro, that's gonna be huge.
it could just be psycho, which I'm like intimidated by. And then we released the trailer right then, and then either the next day or maybe we wait a couple days. I'm not sure if it makes a difference. We released the pilot on YouTube. He tweets it, Instagram.
The impression is so spot on.
I appreciate it. I looked at some other people that do impressions of her recently, and I think mine's better than theirs. they go a little bit like down here and stuff, and it's probably realistic, but mine, I kind of it's more comedic.
You're all out there. Yeah.
It's like the parrot in Home Alone. Home Alone 3 is a lesser known one, but I loved it in my childhood.
Oh, interesting. Good segue.
Would you know? Yeah. Best. And then I think other than that, bro, we're lots of stuff going on. Lots.
What's the timeline for that?
Good question. Best case scenario. I mean, I set it up to be done like this week.
Wow.
Yeah, but my dad and I are going to talk about it tomorrow morning. I'm seeing him in person.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good shit, man. This could be the thing that turns the tides. You never know.
You never know, or gets everyone to hate me. I don't think
it's worth the risk, bro. I really do.
If they hate me, I got commercial real estate.
Dude.
I get chased out of Hollywood.
The thing is, I heard this recently. The worst thing that can happen to you in this business is obscurity and indifference.
Wow.
So either side of the coin that you land is going to be better than indifference.
Yeah. I kept coming back to as well, like, it's like almost too corny of a cliche. Like, you have to see something through. You have to do the best with what you have. Like, that's the only sword you can fall on, really. Yeah. And everyone says, trust your gut. I'm not really sure what my gut says. It's always very unclear. And I think overthinking is underrated, frankly. I think you have to analyze. But I think I'm proud of it. I do think it's funny. It's not as if it's like a vision that I'm not. Oh, by the way, on another note, another little accomplishment. Met with casting director Buddy, and said he reached out to the casting director for a soap opera for me, a big soap opera. And so we'll see if I get an audition with that or something. Yeah. And
some of that consistent work could really strengthen your chops.
Exactly. I don't see any way how it went, dude. The people that are in soaps these days, I think, are good. And like, the writing, they're churning it out quick, but like, I'm sorry, if I'm on that sound stage day in all the time, like spitting out words and everything, and making it real, just trying to make it as good as it possibly can be, I'm gonna get better.
Then you're doing it too, bro. It's the whole thing about like starting as a kid actor, and like they're infinitely better than the people who go to acting school for like 4 years. Yeah, it's like the people who are actually on set doing the thing. You're not just like talking about doing the thing.
Exactly. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, and bro, there's nothing better than a consistent gig like that, at least at the start. Like, eventually you can do, you can go for the awards type.
You keep your goals. Yeah, I mean, I know I want to do that stuff that's like really original, and I've dreams to make really interesting stories, but yeah, it could free me up if I don't have to have a day job. Like, it could free me up to do stand-up comedy and stuff too. That would be quite a duo. So
yeah, dude, that transition, it's what most people have to contend with, is having the day job, making that work, being able to survive while still crossing over to the next stage. And I find that the discipline and the work ethic is most important at this stage. And the difficult thing about that, it's like a pressure cooker, because you got thought you were gonna whip out a Valley mentality for a second.
Something.
It's because you got to really contend with like the survivalness of it, and you have time sucked out for that. But at the same time, the output of what you're trying to put, it has to be so extreme so that you can push through that indifference of people not giving a shit about you or your product or whatever. And then eventually you can kind of chill out. like there comes to a point where you don't, you still have to work hard, but it almost works against you, like the overexposure thing. Like if you're constantly putting out stuff, putting out stuff, it gets to be a question of like, okay, but is all this stuff quality? Now that you
Yeah.
have the time to relax a little bit more, like, kind of focus your attention on diving more into like a single project and
Yeah.
chill out a little bit. Otherwise, that whole like overexposure thing can happen. But for the time being, the whole point is that like so many people are dealing with this stage that we're at right now, which is like you got the day job, which is sucking out like, 8 hours or less, hopefully less.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the work ethic has to be even more so than any other stage of your career.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. I think that's why this podcast is applicable, obviously.
Yeah.
What about you, my man?
I've been writing a lot and
Yeah.
finding that, dude, especially for being a filmmaker, like I'm only talking about being a director, but if you learn how to write really, really good fucking scripts, that's the key. I think it's the key that unlocks a lot of this shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
we always flip flop, always flip flop.
No, no,
But
no. Well, also, like
truthfully,
you've been on this, and I agree. I like in the last two podcasts or whatever, you're like, that's the main place that you can hide. You don't need the big actor. You don't need this. You don't need that. If you have an interesting story, that's it.
yeah,
It's
in
right.
genre especially, because idea is king here, and people
Mhm.
only care if it's scary. And
Yeah.
yeah, dude, it's mostly been for me figuring out how to do that. And the thing is, a lot of people get tripped up because they feel like they only need to like write a couple of scripts and then, they're good. They've got their two scripts, they can kind of approach reps, whatever. What I've found, at least in my journey, which could be different from other people, but dude, to get to the place where you're a really skilled writer, you have to get through a lot of shit scripts. And it's just part of the process. But the amount of time it takes, like, dude, I'm finally at the point where I feel like I'm writing quality shit. And so for the couple of scripts that I'm working on now, it's like these are the ones that I'm like 100% I can see these taking me to that next level. But dude, it's taken me like 6, 7 shit
Yeah.
scripts to get
Yeah.
to this place. And so people just need to understand that I mean, I have a feeling I've heard like Ari Aster and some other guys, they wrote like 10 shitty screenplays. Like, if you want to break through as a director and you want to do it by writing, you just have to know that that's part of the process. But the hard thing about it, dude, it's such a time suck. Like, if I just think about the hundreds of hours that I've spent writing scripts, it's fucking crazy. But
Yeah.
it's like, unless you're a genius,
Right.
it's kind of what you have to do to sharpen your craft.
Yeah. It's a time crunch. Again, I go back to my brother as like an extreme example of someone that loves it. I got to give it to him. He writes for hours every day. Every day. He loves it. He can't get
He's
enough of
still
it.
doing that?
Still doing it.
Are these
I mean,
screenplays or what?
no, 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 no.
He's like a novelist.
Yep, he's writing 2 books.
Damn.
2. Currently, he's writing about his time in Europe. And then he's also like he's got all the notes and stuff he's compiling for his time in Japan. And the nature of his book is like he talks about the world and everything, and then also his time. In other books, he'll go into like 4 pages or like whatever, 4 chapters about a book or something. Anyway, but I think you gotta write, and I wish I've been writing lately, but I'll have my time too.
Yeah, dude. It's all about like the time. Cause also being an actor, like I could say that writing is the best thing you can do if you're like an actor too. But also as an actor, like you have to be doing auditions and shit. So if you have a day job, you have to do auditions and you're writing, there's like not time. Like I feel like one of those has to go at this
Yeah.
stage.
You mean like in a good way, or one of them has to like
I
not have?
mean, I don't know if it's good or bad, but like there's only so much time in a day. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, no, no,
Like
no,
if I
totally.
were an actor, I would either have to cut down on the auditioning or I'd have to cut down on the writing, but I wouldn't be able to do both.
There was an English actor that I like clocked a couple of years ago who he's in this TV show. He's like really interesting, and I looked him up, and the actor is like he works and stuff in England, but he's more of a, and this is a serious show, but he's a comedian. He does like very dark comedy type stuff. And he's got like 5,000 Instagram followers, like not big, but I suppose he could kind of be considered like that guy from that thing, famous. And I saw an interview with him, and he's just like, so, the thing about me is I'm a writer first, and I write. Write is right, and so that means that I'm putting in hours every day writing because that's my job. Whether I have being paid for it or not, and so I'm like, that's kind of where I want to be at eventually.
Yeah, what's crazy too? I heard from like when they were on The Departed, what's the Good Will Hunting guy?
Matty Damon's.
Yeah, Matty Damon's. He's talking about when he went in a room with like Jack Nicholson. It was just both of them together. And Jack just turns around and he's like, how I've had such a long career? And he's like, oh, how? And he's like, I'm a damn good writer. And he's like, yes, of course you are. Because that's how he knows how to choose good material. And that's how he knows how to, not say a certain piece of dialogue. That's how all of the stuff that comes out of his mouth is so fucking brilliant, because he knows how to edit and taper and all this shit. And so that's what Jack said his secret is. And Jack was like, yeah, most people don't know that, but I'm a fucking good writer.
First of all, good impression. Second of all,
like the one guy can do.
Dude, we'll take it. Where did you hear that? Where did you see that?
It was like an interview with Matty Damon's talking about The Departed.
I'm surprised I haven't seen that.
Yeah, check it out. Look it up.
I will look it up. Yeah. Not surprising at all. I think Jack Nicholson had a hand in like legitimately getting a screenplay credit for Easy Rider back in the day. He might have. But also, I mean, yeah. So in that context, he's literally saying that he might ad lib or like crop and like say lines differently, because he's such a bigwig.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. He knows what makes a scene interesting. He knows character. He knows story and what's gonna add.
On The Departed, he just brought out a fake prop gun that no one gave him, that he just like shoved in Leo's face for this one scene, and he started like improving. He's crazy, bro, in a good way.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what scene that was. They might have cut it.
I think they did cut it. Yeah. I think it was in the part where he's like, there's like a rat. Like, you know what I mean? He was like that whole thing. I think he brought it out for that moment.
That whole aspect I like The Departed a lot, but there was an aspect about it. I was like, how does this guy not get that capture the rat? Like, he was
Leo's the rat.
Yeah.
Well, I think he knew it in that moment, right? That's why he did that whole shtick.
Well, based off like what on paper, if you're not taking any of the subtext or anything subjectively, he was saying, I think there's a rat in my crew. Do you know? Like he was just inquiring, like, or like, why didn't you stay in the bar that night that I asked you to pay for? So he was accusing him as well. Yeah, maybe he could have brought out a gun to accuse him or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yo, pivoting slightly.
Sure.
I'm curious because I feel like this is like a defining factor between the people who make it in this industry versus the people who don't. How do you not accept your present reality as this is the way it's going to be forever? How do you look out there? Are you like a manifestation kind of guy? Are you like thinking of yourself in the future? Like, how do you separate what the present is for what the future could be while still living, loving, laughing, whatever the fuck that mantra is?
Yeah, that old faithful. Yeah. I just try to make my goals clear, write them down. It's a classic, more positivity, self-help stuff. And I tell myself, I give myself an out too. I say, all right, if it doesn't change in a couple of years, then I can do something else. And then also,
you got an out?
Oh, I got an out for sure. Because it was when I like just finished acting school, I felt like I was bad at acting. I was feeling unfulfilled creatively completely. And I felt like I was just getting worse and more psyched out. And I felt like it was almost affecting my confidence to do anything well. Yeah. And I was like, well, acting is for life, acting affects your entire life. So that's all I got. And it was once I kind of told myself, you don't have to do this. You're actually good at a lot of things, that I started kind of feeling a little bit more like human about it and realistic, and like, okay, you don't have to do it. So, and I just coincidentally got better at acting by doing that really good acting class. I was thinking about today. I'm just so thankful that I got to do that. But
Yeah.
and writing. Yeah. And how do I know that it'll change? First of all, you have to, it's more mindfulness. Be appreciative for how far you've come compared to where you've come from. And sometimes when you think about that too, and you start like rattling off, your accomplishments and how big of a deal that was to you at the time, thinking like, oh, why was that a big deal? It's because I never thought I'd be able to do that. And then I was on a network TV show, and everyone, all these big people that I grew up watching, were cracking up at me and like bowing at my feet and telling me I was making fun to sing, and
Yeah,
like, if I
that was
think
a
back,
great scene, bro.
thank you. But I mean, nonetheless, like, it could have happened to anyone. But the point is like, there was a time where like I literally felt like I could not perform in front of people. I was like, well, what? You have to be interesting to perform well. I just didn't get it. I just didn't get it. So like, that was a big deal. And if that's the nature of life, then like, if I've come that far, why not go further? You have to say, that's another mindfulness thing. Like, ask, why not me? So
Right. I like
more
that.
goals, and then
Um,
laugh along the way.
I like that, bro. And you said that before too, about like thinking about how far you've come and like reflecting whatever. And it is crazy. And I've said this before too, where like your new normal becomes normal really fucking quick. And even like this will be a good reference for us to look back and be like, oh, this is what we were saying back when, before this opportunity came. Because
Totally.
in the future, bigger shit is gonna come. But on my end, bro, like my favorite horror short of all time has like 1.5 million views, and like my short has like 1.3 million views, and that's something I never thought that I would be able to do, so like just thinking about that and not being like, oh yeah, like like it's like normal, whatever. It's not fucking normal. Like you should be
No,
proud of your past stuff. um and yeah, I like that, bro.
good
I
for
think,
you for appreciating that.
thanks, dude. Yeah, and I like you bringing up your show too. You know, thinking back, you saying how like you're good at other things, do you feel like acting is the thing that you are best at? Like you might be good at a bunch of things, but do you think that you're better than the other things at acting?
Um, yeah, at this point, acting is like a specific vocation. It's a trade, and I've put in like a lot of energy into getting to where I want to be with it. And I've gotten like very specific. I don't think there's like, I don't know. I've gotten very, very confident, fortunately. And like, if I think back to my qualifications, being on this movie that hasn't come out yet, where I was a fraternity boss and
Yeah.
or fraternity owner, and I just, I had to like 6 takes in a row, just go out on this thing. And all the people that were supposed to be at this party, there was like a huge audience watching me that was supposed to be in the scene. They were supposed to be people at this party. I think people were like blown away, like humbly, humbly, I say, non-humbly, just the reactions I was getting, and just knowing how real we were making it, and interesting, and like not being into myself, just being a professional, and like, and just doing it to the best of my abilities, even without seeing it on screen. I've seen some dailies just because I had to do voiceover for it too. It's like that, again, that's a place where like I don't know how many people would be that in demand. And I feel like whether it's theater, whether it's film, whether it's radio, I mean, I think I deserve to be a performer at this point, a creator. And
Yeah.
the fact that I do impressions and comedy and stuff too, and write, and I've gotten this stuff made, I think I have as good of a chance as anyone else. So, I at least owe myself to keep doing it. Not to say there's not other very qualified people everywhere. So if you're
Right.
still not able to make it in the industry, it is one of the worst industries there is. So it's like, no shame.
It
No
is,
shame.
bro. It is one of the worst
Yeah.
industries. It's true.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think I think it's valid enough to continue by feeling like you are the best at this one skill than other things that you do. Like on my end, I think that I am good at a lot of things and I enjoy doing a lot of things. But by far the thing that I feel like I was made to do just because it comes so naturally, it's so like quick, it's just coming up with the horror concepts and like executing the vision of that.
I could say from afar, looking into your skill, the fact that you are like so experienced making movies, it's like a very specific trade, and you're so experienced doing it, confident, and whether it's in the writing sector, you can just crank something out. I mean, we forget that like to some people, like even just doing screenplay format is like so like an anomaly. Like it's a completely different thing. Like you're so experienced and versed and confident with that, and like being able to crank them out and be confident and set the tone on a set. That's all brilliant stuff.
I like how this pod is just us pumping each other up, and I'm going to finish it out just saying, impressions and actors' impressions is a really good tell of how skilled they are as an actor. I feel like they're completely linked. I think because you see some of the best, I mean, you can say a lot of shit about Kevin Spacey. He's done a lot of,
yeah. But as far as talent,
but he's one of the best when it comes to like impressions, right? Like even seeing him do his Al Pacino, I don't know if you've seen that shit, but it's really good. But I think impressions are characters, and I think if you're able to like flip quickly and do it well, it's a really good tell of how skilled you are as an actor. And
100%.
Yeah, and I don't know like many people who rival your ability to just like pull something out and just like, yo, I'm Caitlin,
Yeah. No, that's kind of you to say. Now that we've blown smoke up each other.
It's disgusting. Let's move on.
Long enough. Yeah. But the exercise is completed. People will see, like, it's, you got to do it for yourself too. You got to like pump yourself up. I was doing it this morning, just like listing off my accomplishments myself and like why that was a big deal for me. It's not enough to just say like, oh, that was nice. Like say to yourself, like, why it was a big deal. And that, you got to be your own best friend. Try to be.
Yeah, dude. And some people are their worst enemy, especially with this shit.
I think that's the default. It is the default. It's like, it's easy to just beat yourself up. We all do it. But so the manual labor comes into like, oh, I have to practice being positive to myself.
Agreed. And also it's interesting to think, I mean, there's going to be people who hate you, like whoever you are, it doesn't matter. But like, there are a lot of people on the outside looking in, their perspective of you would be different. Like, people would be amazed by the shit that you've done, for example. You know what I mean? It's like, you have to think about it from the perspective of people who are looking up to you and like, oh shit, like you have done all this cool stuff. You can just continue to keep racketing it up.
That's a good self-help exercise. Like, think from the perspective of someone that, is someone who's a theater major in college or something, looking at
us. Or like the kids at my high school who are in like the film program that I was in, film production in high school. It's like, I remember what it was like being that age.
That's a great point, man. All the above.
Yo, next week we've got Tyler McIntyre coming on. Big deal, dude. This guy, Tyler, was, and we'll do like more of an intro next week, obviously, but he was very nice to me. We had a couple long conversations about, him being in genre specifically. He was one of the directors on the latest VHS movie, which I don't know if you're familiar with that series, but it's like 5 horror directors at the top of their game who each one of them has like 20 minutes that they direct, and it's like cut together. And so this one takes place in 1999. His was incredible. I went to the premiere. He he talked to me. He's a really, really nice, down to earth guy. And I think it's really cool that he's in genre specifically too, so we can kind of dig into the nitty gritty of that. It'll be cool.
I'm gonna do a little bit of my research before we get him on.
Got
to. Just like you have to Jimmy Van Patten.
That's right.
But yeah, dude. Good for you for getting a big dog.
Dude, of course. Yeah, he's a nice guy. But again, bro, like everyone feels like they can, it'll be interesting to hear his perspective about where he feels like he's at, and what it's all like. You just pull back that that the hood of the car. You never know what's really
Yeah,
going on. It'll be cool.
100%. What have you been watching anything good lately?
You start.
Okay. I for one been watching White Lotus season 2. Have you?
No,
Did you watch White Lotus season 1?
no.
Wow. You really
I'm not
do
a
know
big
your
like
horror
TV show
rock.
kind of guy. I'm very in
Yeah.
my own little niche. But
Yes, yeah.
yeah,
Oh
I
no,
watched
that's
something out of character this week that I just remembered, but continue.
okay.
White Lotus season 2 is good, huh?
White Lotus. I mean, both seasons I think are just like fun, a lot of drama, a lot of quirky comedy. It's kind of like I think the coolest tone that I would like to act in. It's like dark subject matters, yet very funny, laugh out loud funny, and it they have cool actors that are always kind of like playing against type for them. Like Aubrey Plaza's in it from like
Love Aubrey
Wreck.
Plaza.
Yeah. And she's such like a natural character. And she kind of subverts it in the show a little bit. She plays just the cool, like kind
Yeah.
of mean girl. But she's awesome. They're all awesome. And dude, the drama got cray this week.
Well, let's not ruin it for people. But that's
No, I love to spoil it. I love to
yeah, I
spoil it.
love to do that. Dude, you know what's a good exercise? You love that show, you love the people on that show. Go to IMDb, list out all the people who are involved. Maybe there's someone, an associate producer, whatever you can tap into. It's
Yeah.
like you think about it. I realized like my dream is to make original horror that's wide released in theaters, right? So I
Yeah.
looked at all the films that fit that category in 2022. There are 10 films. Barbarian is one, X, Pearl, there are a few others. But I listed out from IMDb. These are all the producers who were involved. These are all the writers, directors who were involved. I could then reach out to those people and be like, hey, like, can I pick your brain, talk about that experience? Then you start to tap into that network. You start being surrounded by those people. You're then in the same arena. So you
So right.
realizing that you love this show, White Lotus,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
who are some of the people you can maybe talk to?
Dude, I feel like that's a a epic thing that you just suggested that because I have been talking about like that should be my number one goal is to get on season 3. And
There you go, bro. And being that specific is only going to help.
it is. The only thing I felt that way about was like there's been a couple, but getting in the Lord of the Rings TV show. I did at least look up all the creators of it, the producers and stuff, and I was like, do I have any bridge between me and them? And didn't. Shocker. But you never know.
Dude, if I were an actor, I would keep my finger on the pulse of like everything that is about to come out. I don't know how you'd even get that info. Maybe it's through like obviously agencies have them. I don't know if you have friends at agencies and shit, but
Right.
there
No,
must be a way
you
to
just
kind of
reminded me. I've done that before and it's been successful. So
really.
yeah. In fact, it's like always like you gotta do that. You gotta look up and everyone the
Dude,
filmmaker.
I feel like if you were a casting director and you were just starring this show and you got a really nice, cool email from someone who's just very respectful and everything, be like, yeah, fuck yeah, like why not? Like, let me just throw them in there. Like casting directors, a lot of the time, my experiences with them from agencies and stuff is they're usually just like, oh yeah, like let's put them in, like let's get it. So, like they just kind of keep the ball rolling. And if they're in motion, why not just put your hat in the ring?
Dude, that's awesome that you brought that to my attention again. I will get good with that. Back to what you've been watching.
Yeah, I saw that Lindsay Lohan.
Oh, no kidding. Everyone's talking about it.
Everyone's talking about it, bro. Look, man, all things aside, before we even dig into plot and shit,
Sure.
which could definitely use a lot of work, but
Good for
she's
her.
back. And I have so much respect for the fact that she's back. And I grew up watching her movies. That's everything, bro. I don't give a fuck what she's on. I had a good time watching it because she was in it. And I am rooting for her, bro. I want her to be back.
She was looking good, looking healthy and everything.
Yeah. I mean, she's had a little work done, but she's looking good.
Hats off.
Yeah. I think I don't even know if I can say it's worth a watch. I like seeing Lindsay Lohan in something. That's all.
Yeah, no, it's like a revisiting of the classic
Childhood, bro.
Parent Trap.
Mean Girls.
Freaky Friday.
Bro, being a kid actor, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. Like we talk about how you get all this experience, you really know how to act. But dude, those are treacherous waters, especially if you're treated like a king or a queen
Oh,
on
yeah.
set from the age of like 6 before your brain is fully developed. That shit fucks with you, bro, especially when you get in the valleys of like the industry.
Dude, Amanda Bynes was like my favorite.
Amanda Bynes.
She really just jumped off the deep end. But
Again, you don't even know what happened behind the scenes, bro. I mean, she was
No.
dealing with that like Dan Schneider stuff. Let's not even get into that. But there's a lot of stuff that probably happens behind the scenes we don't even know about, you know?
I worked on that Netflix show with Emily Osment, who's in Hannah Montana, and she was so funny. Just like she's just a star.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, it's epic. I mean, her older brother is like bridged the gap too. He's made it to adult acting. So
That's good to hear, man. I love when they actually bridge the gap.
yeah,
A lot of
Right.
stuff can go wrong.
they cross over.
Yeah. Well, dude, we got like 2 minutes left. Look, man, what do you got going on for this week? What's on deck? Are you
just
gonna
working.
tell me the timeline again? You're hopefully gonna shoot that thing this week. You won't be releasing it before next pod, right?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, unless I talk to my dad tomorrow morning, he's like, all right, I'm gonna call Caitlin today, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, yeah, that's big action. We're gonna have another Valley Mentality party, I think probably next Thursday. If you're
Cool.
around, that'd be delightful. And other stuff with Valley Mentality too. And yeah, dude, that's kind of it. Day job, doing a day job.
Yeah.
Which is good. I'm reading more scripts and seeing the notes other people in their group are sending, and the notes are so elaborate and stuff. I'm like, whoa.
Bro, I can't imagine. The grind never stops because when you get to that level, it's like you're just getting notes on notes.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is intense. But
Yeah, bro. I'm gonna just be writing and just keeping that going. And I'm gonna be done this script I'm working on. It's called The Haircut. Really fucking scary, grounded. I'm really digging it. Highest concept thing that I've done.
feature
And,
or short?
feature.
There we go. That's what I
Yeah,
thought.
bro. We're crossing over.
It's official. I was
so
just
yeah,
testing
dude.
you. I was just testing you.
Yeah. We're not going back, bro. That
No.
shit's dead in the water.
No.
I mean,
so
we got some
fast
background
fight.
noise over here. Dude, we're not going back. I truly
dude.
believe. What's up?
No. I know. Real quick though, before if that's Autumn, it just reminded me. Dude, you realize the Van Nuys Drive-In T-shirt that Autumn's mom brought up? Like, we got to do.
Yeah.
There is already a Van Nuys Drive-In T-shirt out there at the Valley Relics Museum.
No shit.
There is, but we could still do it as long as we kind of do our own version to make it better.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Throw out some designs, see what works. That's good to know, though.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
I want to see
talk
this
more
next
about
drop.
What's that? Yeah, it's all coming.
All right, brother.
All right, my
Tyler
man.
McIntyre next week. Have a good
Dude,
night.
you too, brother.